I'm McGinnis here, chairing the ACT Committee meeting, August 12th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Brian Travis, who is not here, Sheila Vaquero, and Patrick McCoy, who will take the place of Brian Travis today. Calling the meeting to order. Item 2, announcements. Announce the public hearing on August 20th at 6:30 p.m. to adopt the Humane Pet Shop Ordinance. Item B, a special meeting of Borough Council August 8th at 6:30 p.m. to consider approval of the Gay Street bid project. 3, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. All right. Are you going to come up? All right.
Hi, my name's Margie Swart. I'm just curious. I looked at
Could
the
you
borough.
please state where you live?
Yes, I live in 1519 Links Drive, Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Okay, that's West Goshen
That's
Township?
West Goshen Township.
Thank you for
Yes.
clarification.
Yes, certainly. I looked through the borough code and I could not find a policy regarding a flow of information, specifically regarding the June 14th No Kings rally. It appears to me through text messages and emails that I received through a right to know request that there was no communication between the police department to the mayor until the following day, and then no communication from the mayor to the borough council. It's my understanding the borough council would have to create a policy or pass a policy. So it's just my suggestion from the outside in that it's maybe something that this committee could look at, that there is, if there isn't a current policy in place for the flow of communication, that maybe it's something that the borough council might want to take up for future. As you know, that some of these policies and codes are very old, and with the advent of cell phones and video, information travels quickly. And I would think that elected officials might want to find out about certain situations through internal means, not through viral videos. So just something I wanted to bring to your attention. I hope that helps. And like I said, I just want to offer how maybe things could be better as far as communication. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, let's move to item 4, reports. Quarterly report, Will Williams, the Sustainability Director.
All right. Good evening. Got some feedback to shorten my remarks after my last go around, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. Wanted to start by talking about a couple of energy facilities items as we enter budgeting season, wrapping our heads around a couple projects here. One is Chestnut Street Solar. Not doing what I want. You go, no. There it is. Okay, we'll do it the old fashioned way. So this time last year, we celebrated 1 million kilowatt hours from this project installed in 2012. It's getting to that age where systems have a little TLC needs, and the need here is an inverter replacement. This is a component that converts DC output from the panels into AC, which is what we use. They're expected to last 10 years. We're on 13 years here. As you can tell, the system still has really good months. Like February was really cold, really clear, and we knocked it out of the park. but the inverter struggles whenever we have really hot weather, heat waves, power outages that we get in the summer from thunderstorms and things like that. So the panels are in great shape. They got another 15, 20 years ahead of them, but the inverter needs to be replaced if we're going to get the most out of that. So collecting quotes on that now. We also have a couple rooftop units on this building, which are beyond their useful life. It's an opportunity for energy efficiency, but more pressing than that, we've got major comfort issues downstairs with humidity, and wasn't a whole lot of investment, and there was really almost none invested when we were doing the building rehab on the mechanical system. So those are things that we're wrapping our heads around ahead of budget season. Really go to the next slide there. So I wanted to mention two things. Last time around, I talked about tariffs and their impact on domestic energy prices. I think macro data is always kind of important in our decision making. So I wanted to hit on two things. You may have heard about rising energy prices from AI, data centers, and cryptocurrency mining, old decommissioned nuclear power plants coming back online and things like that. That is going to hit everyone in the pocketbooks here at the borough and at home. There's two parts of energy supply, electricity supply, generation, and then delivery of that generation to where we use it. And where we're going to see the most pain is on that delivery part, and that's what's captured here. PJM, which is our regional grid. This is basically cumulative costs of delivering energy on the most expensive days of the year, which are heat waves or extreme cold. And those prices have gone up 7-8-fold over the last 2 or 3 years. This is all auction based, like a year ahead. So takeaway here is electricity prices are going to rise across the board. And that is data centers. Hyperscale is the new term because no one's ever seen anything like it. Go ahead, Billy. The other thing I wanted to mention on macro level is you probably heard about gutting of incentives for renewable energy projects at the federal level. These were not handouts to uncompetitive energy types. These are leveling the playing field between energy types that don't pay to pollute and energy types that don't pollute. So for decades across broad political support, there was a recognition of that unevenness and an effort to level the playing field. And these have also resulted in, really huge decrease in costs. The solar at Chestnut Street Garage would cost 25-30% of what it costs in 2012 to install because there's been so much investment in solar. So good return on investment, but that all is going away. But there is a window to get a project done, and you basically need to start construction and have a lot of stuff in the ground, so to speak, by next July 4th. So I'm going to come back to that later on in the agenda tonight. The community level, our two sustainability related committees are engaged and active. If you haven't seen them yet, stop by borough events, chat with our sustainability advisory committee folks, handing out lots of good information on good sustainability topics. The committee deliberated and voted to recommend that Borough Council waive residential permit fees on home solar and EV charging installations. I have not had an opportunity to talk to the Director of Building and Housing about that. I said I would give him a couple of weeks before I collide with him on this type of thing. But this is sort of in recognition of these fees add 3 to 5% to project costs for homeowners in Westchester. They also probably result in unpermitted work being done because faced with a 3 to 5% additional costs on a project, especially one that's being done in a garage, folks might say, nah, let's not do it. But obviously your decision to make. And then Birdtown certification, if you haven't seen that logo around, you might. I saw one in Westtown recently. This is a municipal certification. It's designed to around being bird friendly, but it covers a lot of interesting things like habitat restoration, stormwater management, things like that. These municipal certification programs, my feedback to the committee was these certification programs there's like dozens of them, you can really chase your tail if you're going after them. This will be committee led with me assisting them. But Phoenixville is Birdtown certified at a bronze level. So we're going in and we're going to beat Phoenixville. That's our goal. Transportation Advisory Committee meets in about 20 minutes. They're doing great. Public input process, we've mentioned this a couple times before, working with DVRPC and a nonprofit communications group called Connect the Dots to design a public input process around transportation needs and priorities for the community. The unstated goal, at least from my perspective, is to get feedback from community members that we don't hear from. It's great to grease a squeaking wheel. It's another to hear from and gather experience feedback from people who aren't comfortable reaching out to you all with complaints or coming to a borough council meeting to address something in their neighborhood. So we want to hear from folks that we don't hear from often. Westchester University did a presentation. I didn't know, but they're operating a shuttle program with 8 different routes, over 500,000 rides per year. They run up to the Exton train station so that folks can come and go on the commuter rail, the flyer trains that run during commuting hours, partly for students, partly for all their staff and faculty and things like that. So pretty wild. We asked the obvious question, like, can other people just hop on? You can if you originate on campus. If you're originating off campus, you cannot. They're exploring that. You know, it's a liability question. And so I'm not expecting like really progressive solution from PASHE on that, but still really interesting to see that something really cool like that exists and is being operated by University. Turk's Head Trail, we heard from those folks. And then this is really cool. They're working on a rubric to evaluate what we call missing segments of sidewalks to fill them in, connect them. And my feedback has been focused on constructability, think about underground utilities, above ground utilities, focus on the least number of affected property owners, because the borough coming in, building sidewalks on private property is always a tough sell. I mean, it happens in municipalities all the time, but it's always a tough sell to those property owners. And connecting, like, how small of a segment can you build to actually connect to existing segments? So that's been my feedback there. Stream fee, we did about $149,000 in revenue. The chart shows just how much comes in the first quarter. Second quarter, that 149 is very typical. 90% of the work happens in January and February here. 64 properties transferred. I wanted to note that because that's a 25% increase year over year versus last year, which I think is indicative of how we might perform on our real estate transfer tax line item. And collections was really strong from Portnoy. That is prior years referred to collections. And when they do their job, they get that money gets remitted to us. I wanted to talk about that because it's a success story. The strong collections activity was driven by new policy requiring delinquencies to be cleared before things like rental permits can be renewed. It's an idea that's been kicked around for years, but never got any traction. Needed a bunch of things to come together at once. Sean's vision for data-driven decision-making in the organization. Borough Council, I believe with ARPA money, if memory serves me right, funded investments in software. That was to allow departments, the left hand to talk to the right hand within those offices back there. Nick Fink, finding and implementing software, found the right tool for us, and countless hours of training staff and the public, which is not in the job description, but he's been doing a great job of it. Ramsey in the driver's seat of building and housing department, being able to see the vision and realizing that this permit renewal cycle is a great point to sort of leverage, as well as the information now at our fingertips because we have the right software to do this. So That was awesome. That needs to happen. And then the frontline workers, Wendy, Keisha, Carrie, have all had very difficult, trying conversations with landlords who want to invest, who want to operate an investment property without paying their taxes, or who are forcing their tenants to assume utilities, which is not allowable in our ordinance. And then college kids move, they don't pay their sewer bill, it's in collections, there's nothing you can do about it. That ship has sailed. So we've also found a lot of undocumented or unpermitted rentals here. So really like team success story. And I don't think we can spend enough time talking about things like that. Moving on, stormwater, couple things, Goose Creek, PRP, and TMDL. These are DEP mandated plans for stormwater quality improvements in this watershed. Borough Council approved a draft of that last year. DEP, we had two exchanges with DEP. Each one they had 90 days to respond to. So suffice to say, there was about 180 days of delay from DEP. They signed off on it, very minor changes. Now we're doing public input process. We hosted an open house last Tuesday for the public, and we are collecting public input through the end of this month. If you follow that QR code, you will go to a very cool online interactive survey built by our amazing intern, Mikey. And that's the best way for public to provide input on those plans. I'll skip this in the interest of time. Grants, we had 1.74 million in applications go out the door. The big number there is for staffing, recruitment, retention of Westchester Fire Department volunteers. They invest a lot in young volunteers. Those volunteers, their career develops, they settle down, they start families, and their involvement in responding to emergencies falls off sharply. If not, they resign. So this is a tuition reimbursement program to basically hold those people more after they're trained. Modest expectations for this because FEMA has been gutted, just like most of the federal agencies at this point. We did get one award for Gay Street, $425,000 for phase 2. And then we have 5 grants of 3 projects closing out. This is the fun part, getting your money back. So we're working a lot on that right now. This is grants that are open at the moment. And then finally, just looking ahead, some stuff that I'll be working on the next couple weeks and months.
Thank you. Any public comment regarding that presentation? Comments from the dais?
Just a question. You talked about the waiving permit fees.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea like what annually over the last 5 years, how many permits have been issued, how much?
It's a small number. I would say on average, it's maybe 7-8 projects per year. And the total bottom line of all those permit fees is about $2,000. And just put that in context,
Good to
this is a $40 million a year organization. So it's not breaking the bank.
Thank you, Will. All right, let's move to old business. Approve the July 2025 meeting minutes. Any public comment or questions? Any comments on the dais? We could consider them approved. Discuss the special event definition and procedures for discounted fee. Mr. Metric.
This is a continuation of the conversation from last month as to what other kinds of events other than the Christmas parade would be eligible for consideration of subsidy from the borough. We did draft a memorandum of understanding that I'll circulate. I don't know if I got to that today or not. Circulate that to council. I got it from Kristen that we can consider next week for the Christmas parade. But that's the purpose of this conversation.
Thank you for that clarification. I mean, I didn't see any other events that would be, in my opinion, worthy of discounted fees, but I'll turn it over to either one of you.
I am of the opinion that consistency of perception by the public is the sort of the factor that I want to see go into place. So when we're having a parade, whether it's the Christmas parade or the Halloween parade, I would think the expectation should be applied to both those events. I think people see the restaurant festival and chili cook-off as similar massive downtown events. And I think there is an argument, and this applies to the parking, to make something consistent for the perception of the public.
Thank you. Any comments?
That is a good point. Consistency is key, right?
I would love to be able to reimburse the bid for the Chris Crindle Market because it's another event that massively shuts down downtown that people anticipate, although it's a new event, that bring business to our downtown that we regularly give them money back. So what is the avenue of reimbursing the bid if we don't recognize it as an event?
Well, thank you. Any public comment? With that, Mr. Metric, do we need to make a decision? Is this something that we could just keep tabling, or is it just for discussion purposes?
It's just for discussion purposes. If the committee wants to make a recommendation to council on standards for special events that would be eligible for a discounted fee, it can, or the matter can rest with the committee.
I mean, I'm at the point where we had discussed the Christmas parade as being its own unique event to the borough. And we did receive that memorandum of understanding. I believe we did receive that today. Sean, you did send that. So you're good to go there. And then, so we're just going to have to discuss and see if any of these other events would fall into some type of criteria where they would be worthy of a discount.
Chris Kindle Market has gotten a discount in the past. That's the real reason I'm bringing that up. And the chili cook-off, they've asked for it, I believe. I'm assuming that we did give it to them because we always give it. I don't want to say that, but I just did. But these big events, we give discounts when people ask. And I don't want this to be like, oh, the Christmas parade is so special because the chamber does it. Like, why is that so special? I know why it is, but I think we're missing the point and we're not setting up a system for other events, future changes and things like that.
Based on size, attendance?
I would be fine with that. And John O'Brien has the technology to track that all and give us reports and feedback on all sorts of things. So yes, I don't know what those numbers are, but I think that's a very...
Putting a threshold of some sort makes sense.
I agree with that. And since we're not going to make a decision today, we should just probably table this to next week with that suggestion. Maybe we give John O'Brien some homework to look at, the size and scope of an event, or events, I should say, to see what we would potentially warrant as a discount. Yeah, we could put that on the Act Committee agenda for next month, because we're going to have to look at that. We're going to have to look for that information.
I just want to say, we're discussing this in all these other committees as well. And I do think that the parking decision versus what gets a reimbursement do not need to be the same category. So the Halloween parade doesn't need a reimbursement because we're putting it on ourselves. But for the public perception, I'm going to argue in the parking committee meeting that we should categorize the parades in the same venue. Doesn't mean that we will be reimbursing anybody. Does that make sense?
I do see your point. I do see your point. No, no, I do. I mean, I do see your point. I mean, because it's going to take multiple committees to look at, right? The finance committee, the act committee, and the parking committee, as far as making these decisions. And so those, I mean, each individual committee is going to have to come up with a way to recognize the event.
But the question here is about the reimbursement. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll put this back on and table it to next month's ACT committee meeting. Right. Item C, discuss interpretation of Pennsylvania sunshine requirement for residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda regarding public participation. The purpose of the agenda item, who is it for? Who is it not for? And a reasonable amount of time allotted for this item.
Some reminder of the framework here. There's the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law that says that agencies, public meetings have to be able to allow at the very least residents or property owners of the jurisdiction to provide public comment. Call that the minimum bar. You have to do that. It's up to council to allow whomever, extend that permission to speak to whomever they want and manage that in the meeting. I suggest that council come to an agreement on how it wants to manage it. So, because right now, the only way we have of managing it is for somebody who's sitting in one of those chairs to call a point of order, and the chairperson at that meeting, be it a committee or work session of council, has to make a decision about whether someone can speak based upon where they live. So I think it's a good idea to come to an agreement on a policy. And as a minimum, you have to allow residents or property owners to speak. And where it is a little unclear is that in the borough's ordinances, it uses the word citizen. It doesn't specify property owner or resident, it uses the word citizen. So it really comes down to how you want to interpret that now.
Again, that is the Westchester guidelines for, right, Westchester, not the United States. All right, any public comment regarding this? We'll take one person per comment. Any public comment?
Hi, my name is Lisa Kearns, 300 Block West Biddle Street. As you know, I'm also the Democratic nominee for Borough Council from Ward 7. And if I do have the honor of joining you in January, I would very much like the opportunity to hear from every person who chooses to come to one of these meetings and speak about topics affecting the borough. That means I support the idea of allowing residents and non-residents to speak for the full 5 minutes as stated in the Westchester Home Rule Charter. True, as Sean said, the Sunshine Law does allow you to limit who can speak and for how long. And I fully concur that we do not want these meetings to be hijacked. We don't want them to be disrupted by outside agitators. But I ask, how often has that happened here? When was the last time we actually had more than 1 or 2 or 3 people even want to speak during those opening segments? So my question is, why would we want to discourage anybody from coming to these meetings and telling us what they would like us to know, rather than us taking steps to make it even easier for them to come? I think, why make it harder for people to come to speak to us if they don't live or own a business within the 1.8 square miles of Westchester. These outsiders, they come here to eat, they come here to shop, they come here to attend our events. And some of them depend on us for their police, their fire, their ambulance service. As I mentioned before, Westchester's not an island. You know that. And I think we should be working to coordinate even more with our neighbors rather than less. And I was asked last month by Brian if I at least agreed that we should only let citizens speak. Well, at this time in this country, when council may be asked to, ICE is currently asking municipalities to sign on under Section 287, which would delegate certain of the immigration enforcement functions to state and municipal police officers. When we have those things being talked about, I would welcome the opportunity to hear from even those who do not have documentation. Why are they here? What is their story? What is it like to exist in Westchester without documentation? To eat here, to shop here, to send their children to school here. To me, if someone had something important to say, they should be given the opportunity to do that, and for the full 5 minutes. It can be very difficult to say what you want to say in 5 minutes unless you just want to make declaratory statements and not give any reason or any context. So if they have something important to say and you want to understand, I say let them explain it. If someone has something relevant to say about Westchester, let them speak. You deserve to hear whatever it is they have to say, and they deserve the opportunity to say it. And that was 4 minutes, so I give you back a minute of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Margie Swart. Thank you. As you know, I live about 100 yards on the other side of the borough boundary. I say if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, has it really been a problem? We're discussing long-range plans for Westchester University. As you know, the border is Rosedale Avenue. Do you really think the people on the south side, the residents on the south side of Rosedale Avenue can't come to your meetings and have input and have a say about what's happening across the street? As you know, there's parking issues. People might want to come and discuss their experience with parking, whatever it may be. I just echo everything that was said before me. And I know Mr. Flynn was concerned about people hijacking your meetings. I know certainly I don't feel like I've ever done that. I'm used to only having a couple of minutes in West Goshen Township. I'd like to think what I have to say is meaningful, and I'm never here to benefit myself. I'm always here or in the township to make recommendations, sensible, smart recommendations as a concerned citizen for my community. So I say if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't think it needs to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? That would be at the parking committee meeting. Not yet, the next meeting. Hopefully soon. Yeah. Yeah. Running a little bit late. Then you want to stay for the meeting. Thank you. Any other public comment regarding item C? All right, seeing none. Comments here from the dais, Mr. McCoy?
Yeah, I completely agree with Ms. Kearns. I think we should allow anyone to speak who wants to. We already have the ability to, if it became disruptive for some reason, that's up to the chair to control that. But I don't see any reason not to allow people to speak. Boards and commission already consist of non-residents. So we had a policy would be to let all speak.
You, Ms. Vaquero.
I am the chair of the parking committee, and people come very, very angry and in mass on occasion to that meeting. They do in other meetings as well, but that one has been hijacked more than once. And I let almost everyone speak, but there is a limit. And I generally don't enforce much of a limit, but I am not opposed to some limitations being in place. I do not like the inconsistency in the language that we have citizen versus resident. Like on our agenda, it says that's what it says. Why? If that's not, we need this cleared up. So something is broken because the language is inconsistent, and we need to make the language consistent. As I stated, I'm okay with some parameters. I think in a quiet meeting where there are one or two guests, of course, let everyone speak. But there are definitely situations where limitations are required, and a little support in a boundary being predetermined is not a bad thing.
I mean, whether it's 24 minutes or 30 minutes, that allows 10 people to, 6 people to speak. I'd be in favor of an overall time limit. We still have business to conduct here and not be here all evening.
Thank you. I mean, I am in favor of the residents and taxpayers only being able to speak at meetings. If people want to be on an agenda, they can certainly ask to be on an agenda. And I think that actually enhances their freedom of speech because that gets their topic discussed publicly at a meeting. That's where I come from when it comes to those residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. I think what we have seen in the last couple of months, and especially with that incident that happened, is there were conspiracy theories that out there put out by some people that somehow the police and the mayor were withholding information, purposely withholding information regarding that incident, potential terroristic incident. That was not the case. There are numerous screenshots out there. You can see that where it came from. And I think that's wrong. I think those conspiracy theories can be proven deadly in some cases. We had an incident the other day that shut down the CDC in Atlanta regarding a conspiracy theory. And so we just need to be cognizant of that. If non-residents want to be on an agenda, for example, the humane pet shop ordinance, that came through the Public Safety Committee. We enhanced that item so that people can discuss that. So I'm in favor, again, of having residents and or taxpayers speak. If non-residents do not, if they want to be on the agenda, then they should email Mr. Metrick, the heads of the committees, to be asked to have that particular issue to be discussed on the agenda. That will give that item a little bit more credence and the opportunity for more public comment. So that's where I'm at.
I would suggest that we maybe take these comments without a committee recommending one way or the other and have a discussion at work session because there's different views and that can be heard at work session and make a decision next week about this.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. All right, new business. Discuss the request from the Community Campus Committee to amend Chapter 3-38 and discuss the revision of the committee name, clarify the mission, and the membership changes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hinkle. I serve as the chair of the Westchester Community Campus Committee. And I am requesting changes to the ordinance on behalf of the committee. And you all have been provided with the changes we would like to make. The changes are in red on the ordinance. And I can briefly summarize those and explain the rationale for that. The committee would like to change the name from, as our acronym, the WCCCC, which is a mouthful, to Westchester Together. One of our goals is better communication, marketing and branding around our initiatives. We feel like we really want to work to get our initiative out there. And we think the Westchester Together moniker would help us better brand those initiatives. And there's already a social media presence under that moniker that we would like to just fold into. We've added some language that just helps to refine and clarify our mission. We've refined our membership list, being really intentional about who's at the table from both the community and the university. And then finally, we've added some term limits to both of our chairperson and our secretary roles, so that there is a 2-year limit to those. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is there any public comment regarding any of these changes? I know the chair that's not here, Brian Travis, had mentioned he does not want to see the name changed. He would like to leave, maybe use Westchester Together as a tagline, but to keep the original name. That's the only thing that was mentioned.
Can I just ask about the term limits? I like term limits, but they sometimes make me nervous. Can you just tell me that you have plenty of people and you feel comfortable? Explain to me that you feel comfortable with the term limits.
Yeah, we did put in the language that someone could, we put it at 2 years, but we also said you could serve 2 consecutive terms. And I think part of the rationale was sort of sharing the wealth and the responsibility. And sometimes, as you know, it's always the same people who step up to the plate. And I think it's an opportunity to spread the leadership around.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, so we're gonna have to discuss, again, the committee chair doesn't want to see the name changed.
I'll make a comment on that. I do like the word campus being in there. Westchester Together is adorable, but what is that? Like school students? Is it moms? So I like the idea of the word campus still being somewhere, because I think that's really the focus of the committee. So I would be comfortable with that, but I don't know how we make that happen.
I guess I'm comfortable with everything with the exception of the name change.
Yeah, I agree.
So we could call it 3-0 decision, keep the name. All right,
Can we add the tagline at this?
we could add the tagline.
Because I like Westchester Together.
Yeah, we could keep the name, add the tagline. Okay. All right. Item B, motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Westchester Borough and Pennsylvania Solar Center. Will Williams.
Hello, back again. So Pennsylvania Solar Center is a Pittsburgh-based nonprofit. Their goal is to get more solar in the world, and they focus on the public sector, although they will work with businesses. The action item here is an MOU to work with them. The cost is $100, but being in an agreement, we thought we'd bring it to Borough Council, but basically they have a 4-step process, feasibility and financial analysis. They'll run a competitive bid process that complies with all of our procurement and bid regs. They will review those bids and make a recommendation to us, and then they'll help us develop a financial framework to implement a project. As I mentioned in my presentation, there is a window to do solar, and it is totally achievable. We've kicked around a concept at this site for years. We applied for federal funding with DVRPC and a bunch of other municipalities. It was good we didn't get that grant because we would have been just about done with the project at the time the grants were all rescinded that were awarded. So that was a blessing in disguise. But this is our last chance to do solar before 2029, if not later. So I want to make a push to do it. I wanted to talk about procurement briefly. I've worked here 6 years, and I'll just say that I would only recommend one financial framework, which is what's called a power purchase agreement. Basically, it's a third party that comes, installs a system on our roof or in our parking lot. They own it, they maintain it, they obtain the tax credits. The tax credits are payable to tax exempt entities. That's a Biden era thing. Actually, IRS would cut us a check if we were to obtain them directly, but under power purchase agreement, that would be someone else. They would be responsible for maintenance and operation of the system. They would be responsible for replacing the inverter when it gets to be 12 or 13 years old. And the way it works is every kilowatt hour that system produces, we're not paying PICO for it. Instead, we get a separate bill for the amount of kilowatt hours at a rate outlined in the power purchase agreement, which is a long-term agreement. The hope is that that is competitive, if not better, than what we're paying PICO. That is very possible, but not guaranteed. Again, in my experience, that's the only way I would propose doing it here, because otherwise we'd have to come up with 6 figures to build the project outright. So again, that's the process, and that says $150. I asked them about that and they thought I was pushing back. So they said, we'll do it for 100, and I feel bad. But that slide is incorrect. It's $100 cost to us. And obviously there would be multiple check-ins with Borough Council before a bid process, and then obviously a bid award. And then, approving a power purchase agreement would be yet another approval that comes before this body.
What would be the size and scope of the power purchase agreement?
Sorry, what was the size?
Size and scope of a power purchase agreement project?
What do you mean size? Like system size?
Yeah.
Probably similar to Chestnut Street Garage. It depends if we do rooftop only and we have a new roof, and that's the best time to do solar. You don't want to do it 15 years into a 30-year roof. So now's a good time for that reason. We'd probably be looking at a 60 to 70 kilowatt system. And that could probably do a third to 40% of the energy usage here, as long as Billy stops adding racks to the servers.
How much would that project cost?
Under the power purchase agreement, nothing. We're paying for it on a per kilowatt hour basis throughout a 20+ year cycle. If we were doing it out of pocket, it would probably be 150 to 200K. With 30% coming back from the feds. So
Okay.
it's not a scale that we can't achieve, but when I say I've worked here 6 years, we got a lot of stuff to pay for, and we don't get to do like a lot of fun elective stuff unless they're grant funded. And this is, I would consider it a fun elective thing with really solid benefits and return on investment.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any further comments?
I mean, I think given the deadlines that appear to be serious, that the sooner we can find out what's possible and get something installed, the better. And so they agree to do this within 10 to 15 days for the cash flow and feasibility analysis. So that means we can get moving soon.
Yeah. It's
At
pedal to the
$100.
metal right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yes, definitely.
All right, thank you. Call that 3-0. Motion to approve engagement letter with Cohen Law Group for Comcast franchise renewal. We've done this before.
Working with Cohen on our Verizon franchise renewal, and they contacted municipalities in the consortium of Chester County municipalities on interest in doing a Comcast franchise renewal. For those of you who don't know, the borough is entitled to its fair share of compensation for the use of public rights of way by utilities. That's the concept underpinning franchise fees that the borough can earn by allowing Comcast and Verizon to transmit television services over cables throughout the borough. It's been going on for 40 plus years, and we came to find out that we were operating on an agreement that was 6 years old, before Comcast even was Comcast. And we were told by the Comcast lawyers that this is an evergreen agreement that goes on for perpetuity. Well, with a little bit of lawyering, they relented and agreed that there is no such thing as evergreen agreements that don't specifically say they're forever and ever. So we were allowed to come into this consortium by Cohen Law Group to participate in this group negotiation with Comcast. And we would be the 13th municipality to join the group. So the flat fee would be $10,000 to get us from start to finish. The services include an audit that does a thorough look back of 5 years worth of franchise fee payments from Comcast to make sure they are in compliance with current standards. So there could be, after that audit, a check to the borough for underpayment of franchise fees over the last 5 years. It's just good practice. And then Cohen Law Group, as experts in this field, can help us achieve the best results in negotiating with Comcast. It also takes that off the administration's plate to do and get into things that we don't know a whole lot about. We don't know really that much about franchise agreements other than what broadly they are and the revenue that they do generate. Just keep in mind that this is for television services only, and these giant companies do have very good lawyers. And so your internet streaming services are not subject to this franchise fee. So as you can imagine, as more of us in the community cut the cord, so to speak, and get our entertainment through online streaming services, there's fewer customer bases to draw this franchise fee from. That's why say that 10 times fast. Franchise fees are going down about 7 or 8% per year in our budgets. But I think this gives us the best chance for success and to reach an agreement with Comcast with the other municipalities and get something good in place for the next 5 to 10 years, depending on what we decide we want to do.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any further comments?
What are the annual franchise fees?
Well, if anyone in the room lives in the borough and buys cable TV from Verizon and Comcast, it's on your bill. I think it comes out to roughly $5 a month, if I'm not mistaken.
What's the revenue to the borough?
Overall generated revenue, I wish Barb were in the room. It's somewhere between 70 and, I don't know off the top of my head, between 70 and 90,000 per year for each. So a total of 140 to 180. Don't quote me exactly on that. It's in our budget, but that's roughly the scale, and it's diminishing each year.
So, but still, we're paying 10,000 for a multi-year. I mean, how many, this would go on for, this would be a 15-year, 20-year?
They're doing 10-year deals, and in some cases it makes sense to do 5-year deals, but I think we're probably going to go longer term with them. I still don't know the exact answer to your question.
Works.
Any further comment? Do you object? Any objections? Any objections on the dais?
No.
And we call it 3-0 decision. Thank you. Motion to appoint voting delegate and alternate delegate to serve on a resolutions committee meeting and annual business meeting, Pennsylvania Municipal League.
Westchester's member of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. It's a nonprofit local government advocacy group with strong ties to decision makers in Harrisburg. And they meet annually and they decide on the legislative agenda and the agenda of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. And this is just a process to go through to name 2 people in our organization who would have that voting power to weigh in on whatever the PML is considering that year. And that vote takes place, I believe, in October. And I'm happy to be one of those people. And I would suggest an elected official be the other one.
us to appoint someone now? I mean, could we put it on the work session agenda? That way we got the full committee to discuss that. Okay. Any public comment regarding that? Any other business? All right. Seeing none, we could adjourn at 6:25.